Amy, let's begin with the session. Tell us about yourself just a little bit. What do you do, and how did you get into embodiment coaching? And maybe if you can just go back a little bit and also just share your journey, because I've been looking at your posts and I see that you're in Canada earlier, and then now you're in Australia. So, I mean, I'm not looking for personal details, of course, but just whatever you can share, it would be great.
Right. Okay. Well, I will try and make that concise, although it is not. So essentially, what I do for my full-time job is that I'm a registered nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And then I am originally from Canada, and now I live in Australia. And that happened because I was, for lack of better terms, I was trying to outrun my own life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was previously engaged. That fell through. I went to Bali for a holiday, met an Australian man, and then followed him here. And now we have been separated for 2 years. So
All right.
that led me to Australia. It also led me to becoming a coach. So I've been a coach for about a
Mm-hmm.
year now, a little less than a year that I graduated from coaching. So I did the
Mm-hmm.
coaching because I wanted to fix myself, essentially. So
Yeah.
I did that, and then that gave me the basic tools of coaching. And in August of last year, I attended my first Wild Grace event, which they have an Instagram, so you can have a look at that if you like. But essentially,
Yep.
it was like it was a women's circle, and we did a lot
Mm-hmm.
of embodiment stuff, which is basically like the art of returning back to your body. So it was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
feeling feelings and using archetypes to feel different things and go to darker places and feel like access anger and gratitude, like just access a range of emotions that previously I was not even aware that I had. Like I remember my friends saying like, "Oh yeah, I like get angry now, but like for a long time I never get angry." And I was like, "Oh my God, I never get angry. Like what does that even look like?" So I had to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to feel
Mm-hmm.
things. And so post that circle, I did their
Mm-hmm.
7-day foundations training, that's what it was called back
Mm-hmm.
then, and then became certified in using their methods and techniques in my coaching. So now when I coach, I can guide people in different sessions where we can either release certain emotions that are stuck in the body, or just feel what's alive and true for them in that moment. So.
Awesome. So that's beautiful. You mentioned that you learned returning back to your own body, and I was reading a little bit about what is embodiment coaching. Um, I knew just a little bit about it before I came across your profile, and I came across your profile, and the first thing that struck me was your posts were, they were exuding positivity. And when I read some of your captions, I was like, uh, I felt some stress lifted off me, and I felt really good. I was like, I should have a session with Amy, and that's how I approached you. And then after that initial connection, I read a little bit about embodiment coaching, and I found out what it is, and it's something beautiful that you do. So I would like you, since you're the experts, I would like you to tell the viewers what is embodiment coaching and what does an embodiment coach do?
Okay, so there's like basically we use different techniques to get people to feel and release emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So you are a lot of us, and like I'm super guilty of this and I have to work at it every day. We all live in our heads. And a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
times we don't feel what's going on in the body. So we try to control what's out here so that we feel better in here rather than sitting with the discomfort of whatever is coming up. So we like to numb, we like
Yeah.
to watch Netflix or exercise or drinks or take drugs or whatever it is, whatever your choices to numb out
Yeah.
whatever is going on.
Yeah.
And so when I'm on a session with someone, I might get them to shut their eyes, and we might just go like, let's focus on what's going on in your body. Like, just scan from head to toe what's going on. What are the sensations? What is like
Mm.
does it have a color? Does it feel, what does it feel like? Is it hot? Is it cold? And so it's just returning back to the individual sensations so that we can release it. How does one
Awesome.
move on even when it has been along certain
Mm.
things? I'm getting a question. I don't
Yes,
know if
yes, yes.
you know. Yeah.
I just got this question from Rishabh. So he's asking
Yeah.
us, how does one move on even when it has been long that certain things have ceased to exist?
Cease to exist.
Um, and funny that he would ask that, because we were going to talk about something like this in our session. So Rishabh, we're
Yeah.
just going to take this question up. But before we take up that question, so, so Amy, you mentioned that we live in our head, and you're very right. And we are mostly disconnected with our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about the body, so people who do not fit in the criteria of the perfect body when we talk about today's society, or people who are, let's say they've got some skin condition, or maybe they're overweight, or maybe their skin color is such which is not not considered very beautiful in certain parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to be very honest and open about in my country, India, so many people have this obsession with fair skin,
Mm-hmm.
and which I believe is completely absurd. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we have certain ideas of how these things come to originate,
Yeah.
but so my question to you is, how does one come to love their own body? Because you know becoming comfortable with your own body. And I'm not just talking about the physical sense of it, but I'm also talking about the metaphysical sense of it. The body is our home, and we live in it, and we do everything with it. So, how do you become comfortable with your own body?
Oh my God. That's a big question.
Uh
Um,
huh.
that's a huge question.
Yeah,
So
I know, I know.
there are so many, yeah, there's so many entryways, I think, into this. Um, I would say like a good place to start that is, it can be quite confronting too, is mirror work.
Hmm.
And so it's just essentially that, like you're looking into a mirror and just getting used to what you see and starting
Hmm.
maybe to like have that dialogue with the mirror, like things that you love about yourself, things like, hey, I
Yeah,
look great today,
yeah,
or I love you, like that, that sort of, that's like one practical tool. But like the metaphysical, I guess, question of self-love, it's what you, it's essentially like self-care, right? It comes down to, what do you
yeah,
value, and are you in integrity with that? Do you
yeah.
enforce your boundaries? Because that's a form of self-love. If you're protecting
Yeah.
yourself in this way, and what you value and how you navigate through the world, then sometimes saying
Hmm.
no to someone is self-love, and that's how you love yourself, because you're taking care of yourself in that way. And yes, it's like bubble baths and
Hmm.
pedicures and all the things as well, if you want to do that, that's like self-soothing sort of thing. But
Yeah,
self-love
yeah,
at the core of it is, I would say, like integrity, boundaries, feeling things, honoring what you stand
yeah.
for. It's honoring your values, and staying in line, aligned with those. So you have to know what you stand for. You have to know, and a lot of us don't, because we've been conditioned to have a certain path and like be a certain person or do a certain thing, or I should be doing this. Like anytime you find yourself like saying I should be doing something, you're already eliciting
Hmm.
like this layer of shame, because you're not fulfilling what you think you should be doing, and so therefore you are wrong for doing the opposite. So
Right.
raising your awareness about all the self-talk that you have is helpful. So you do
Hmm.
something and then you make a mistake, and instead of learning from the mistake, you just, can we swear on this live? I don't know if we can. Because I tend to.
um, we can, of course, but
I'll try not
I
to.
usually refrain.
Okay. But yeah, like, so if you make a mistake or what you think is a mistake, then we can go to very negative, like beating up, self-talk, like, how stupid are you? Why would you do that? You're such an idiot, right? Rather than like, okay, well, I learned that, let's not do it again, and like develop
Yeah.
self-compassion. So that's another route. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. What are your ideas on that? Because that's a huge.
Oh, that was, yeah, I know that was, but what you said was really beautiful, and I used to be very uncomfortable with my body because I've been a little overweight all my life, and I've discussed this in previous live sessions that how people used to bully me and how these things happened. So I kind of learned to grow up with the idea that what I am is not correct or is not the right thing. So, and it took me a long time to understand that there is no right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's just there are just different things,
Yeah.
and the real reason why we work out or why we get in shape or why we take care of ourselves is not because we want to fit in the society. We do that because we should in fact just want to take care of our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and but the funny part is that our obsession with having a good looking body comes from being more accepted in society instead of
Mm-hmm.
actually taking care of yourself.
Yeah,
So that's a
100%.
funny thing.
Yeah, and it's also
All
like
right, well,
comparison, right? Like,
yeah.
sorry.
What did you say? I'm sorry. Can you please say that again? I was
I was
talking
gonna say
when you spoke.
yeah, there's a lot of like, in the world now that we live in with social media, there's a lot of comparison. So it's what you see growing up that's desirable. Like, we give a 3-year-old an iPad, and
Yeah,
like, they're growing up with what is socially acceptable, what does that specific culture value, what do your
yeah,
parents value. And again, like, we inherit a lot of our parents' stories and their own judgments. If they haven't done their work, they're going to pass it down to you. So again, like, it's
yeah,
just a deconstruction of everything. And at the end of the day, like, going to the gym can be self-love, but it can also be self-hate. It's like two
yeah.
sides of the same
Absolutely,
coin. So yeah.
absolutely. And just focusing on the positives is really how that is, I believe, the true genius expression of creativity when you're focusing on the positive energies to develop yourself. Uh, so with that thought, let's move on to the next part of our discussion.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the idea, and we discussed this when we had our first call. So we meet a lot of people in our lives, and we form relationships with some people. Some people are our biologically related people, or they help us grow up. So some people raise us. So we have social bonds with some people. Then
Mm-hmm.
we create certain bonds with certain people, like friends. We meet them in school, we meet them in college, we meet them at work, and these bonds, they turn into emotional bonds, and these emotional bonds are, of course, very strong. And then one fine day, these bonds just break, and we feel that we're stranded in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to learn from you, how do we deal with that kind of loss? I mean, not just relationship breakups, but also breakups related to you know friendship
Friendship.
breakups.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think people talk about friendship breakups enough, to be honest. Um, oh God. there, I think, and this kind of can tie into this question as well, like how does one move on even when it's been like a long time, that things like if you haven't had a breakup or a friendship or something that you haven't dealt with, you can still process it now. But I think the main thing is to give yourself permission and time to feel everything. You did say, which I kind of agreed with, but also I have to disagree with you a little bit or add, that to focus on the positivity. Yes, and it's not just all positivity, right? There is a shadow.
Yeah.
There has to be.
Yeah.
So if we are just like, yes, all light, let's move on, let's like focus on all the positive things, on the things, we're actually at risk for denying the grief and the sadness and the anger and the loneliness that comes often with, like in this scenario anyways, but in all walks of life in this scenario.
Yeah.
So I think there has to be space created. Like Mark Grove said something along the lines of like, grief demands that we make space, because it does. Like, you don't want to go out anywhere when you have a breakup. You don't really want to hang out with friends when you've had a falling out with them. Like, there has to be this space created so that you can feel things. So that would probably be like my first, have a practice where you know how to release what you're feeling or feel what you feel.
Yeah. Right.
And then give yourself permission to numb out some days, right? Like,
Yes.
we're not going to feel every day. Sometimes we're going to have a drink. Sometimes the Netflix is going to go on. Sometimes you're just going to have to say, like, screw it. Today just sucks. Like, it's a lot of embrace the suck. Like, there's always going to be a day where you're like,
I
this
agree.
is just a write off. Yeah. And then I would hire either a coach or have like a good support system, because often we like to go back to the person in a breakup to keep them as the support system, and that doesn't that's not necessarily the best idea. Like, if I could do it again, I would probably have cut off my communication a whole lot sooner and got a different support group. So have someone that like you can talk to, or get a coach that will listen to you, that will kind of guide you in the right direction. Yeah, I think that's it. And then I think at one point when the feelings start to settle, you can start looking at the lessons. I'm always wary of people who are like, oh, it's all their fault. Like, my ex is crazy, and like, it's all their, like, it's never them. I would say don't do that too early, but there will be at one point where it's like, hey, it took two to tango. So like, you got to look at where you contributed. Where am I the common denominator in these patterns? Maybe I need to shift here. Maybe I could do things a little bit differently. Maybe I won't bring this into my next one, and start getting the lessons out of the breakdown.
Right.
Is that helpful?
That's very helpful, in fact. And you mentioned the shadow personality idea, and I've did some reading of Carl Jung's ideas of shadow personality, and I've understood shadow personality as because we have a lot of repressed emotions throughout our growing up years, and which is why I take tragedy not as something negative, but as something which is a part of life. And I do not know why people are so afraid of talking about tragedy. I say, if something negative or something tragic has happened in your life, that is also life. And which is why I said that there is no good or bad. It's just different. There are just different aspects to it. And so I completely agree with you that we need to embrace both of those sides, and we need to embrace both of those ideas. And of course, if we've had a breakup, that's also a part of our life, right? So we need to take it as it comes, and we need to learn to live with it. I totally agree with your idea of not going back to the source of pain, looking for comfort, because I've been in somewhat similar situations before, and it took me a long time to recover or come out of it. Okay, let's take
Yeah,
Rishabh's question now. He says, how does one move on, even
yeah,
when it has been long that certain things have ceased to exist?
yeah. So things when we have traumas or we have experiences that are uncomfortable, and that kind of speaks to like, yes, take it as it comes and stuff, but as a society in as a whole, we don't like to experience discomfort. And
Yeah.
so this is why a lot of people struggle and they don't have a high tolerance to it. Um, with this, depending on like how traumatic this scenario was, um, if it requires professional help, I would do that. But I would find someone who, or encourage you to start feeling the things that happened during that time. So maybe use like a
Yeah.
memory to like trigger this thing, and then just watch it move through your body. So I always encourage my clients to start like their emotions dictionary, I call it. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, go through your day. If you are feeling sad, like what does sadness feel like to you? Is it hot in your belly? Does it go up into your throat? Like, where does it actually move in your body? Like, figure that out and then
Mhm.
name it. Instead of like being like, oh my God, something's happening. I feel this and like abort. Like, where's the eject button? Sit with it.
Mhm.
Like, learn how to start feeling it so you can be like, okay, cool, sadness, here it is. Now what's going on? Like, or nothing's going on, maybe. Maybe it just needs to run that energy through your body and there it goes. Um, so with this, like, I would say get like hire a coach or hire someone who can help you like learn different techniques on how to release emotions and how to. There's also in Wild Grace we use a technique called aspecting. It's where
Mhm.
it's, and I think in Getzel's therapy, it's called the empty chair technique. And it's where you sit down and you have a conversation, like you close your eyes and you have a conversation with the person or an aspect of yourself that you have had an issue with, or maybe has passed away and you still have unresolved stuff with. So you have that conversation. And then you switch and you
Yeah.
like put yourself in their position and you have the conversation back. But in that,
Yeah.
you're also transmuting all of those feelings. So maybe you need to rage, maybe you need to scream, maybe you need to cry, maybe you need to like laugh hysterically or say whatever it is that you need to say, right? So then it's like you're having that conversation without actually like maybe
Yeah.
possibly hurting anyone. Um, and then you're coming back, but it's all done through feeling. Like, feeling is healing, basically.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
don't know if that
That's a
was, if that
beautiful. That's a beautiful
answered your
line.
question. Let me know if it did in the comments. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
anything
I
that
hope.
the past has to be felt. It's locked in the body. It
Uh,
has, and that's the only way to like release it, really.
yeah.
Or breath work can be
No,
helpful as well.
oh yes, I saw one of your videos on Instagram. You shared one of your breathing techniques. You were like lying down on the bed. You said this is your post-work breathing exercise. Um,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know if that's what you're referring to.
well, so there's different types of breath work. Holotropic breath work is like the main one, I think. I'm not certified to teach it, but there are a lot of
Mhm.
people who do it. And breath work is helpful in releasing anything, really, to be honest. It brings up a lot of stuff. It's quite intense as well. Myself, I just kind of do a more easygoing one, and I will incorporate
Mhm.
that into either like my meditation or my release when I check in, or just like when I have a self pleasure session. Breathing is
Mhm.
life, so it's good to do that too.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, wonderful. Um, Now, moving on towards practicing the idea of embodiment. So it would be great if you can just run us through some exercises or maybe a little session that, as you know, there are not a lot of people here right now, but I'm sure as I'll upload this video, many people are going to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want people to take something away from our conversation, and I think one of the best things for people to take away would be something that is move. So, can you give us certain exercises that one can do in order to become more aware of their body, or some exercises that probably an embodiment coach would do with someone who's feeling disconnected or dissociated?
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, there's a few. I think the main one would just be to like start paying attention to the things that you feel and start associating them to what you're feeling. So, for example, like I had used with the sadness or maybe anger, even if somebody triggers you or something happens, there is a space in between you getting triggered and the feeling coming on. It's very short. But in that space,
Yeah,
you have the choice to either engage with it or watch it. It takes 90 seconds from when the event happened or that memory fired off for your brain to flood your system with like the neurochemicals that will create an emotion. So all you, like all you have to do, no, yes, and all you have to do is a lot easier said than done, is just become a witness to the sensations in your body. Instead of replaying the memory, instead of hooking into the gossip, instead of like
yeah,
engaging, just pause
yeah,
and then start feeling like, oh, my body's really hot right now. I'm feeling like I'm really tense. My jaw's really tight. I'm feeling like heartburn. And then you can start naming what these emotions are, right? And then sit
yeah,
with it for 90 seconds and it will pass. It takes about
yeah.
20 more minutes for your whole system to calm down, but you will be less reactive. So I would say if you want to gain more awareness about being in your body and having like these experiences where this energy is going through you and it's moving on, start paying attention to what it is that is actually passing through you. Like, is it anxiety? Is it grief? Is it sadness? Is it gratitude? Is it joy? Is it bliss? Is it arousal? Like, are you turned on by
Yeah.
someone or something? Like, there's a whole spectrum. So that would be my first
Wow,
tip. Um,
that was beautiful. Yes.
the second one that I like to use, like for a quick release, like when I get annoyed, I'll do it at work sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Um, Post one of these like energy rushes and something. If you just want to release the energy, you can just shake it off. You know how dogs, this is like sounds really bad, but you know how dogs have a shake off? Yeah, you just
Yeah,
shake it off. That's
yeah,
actually like
yeah.
them reducing. It's called stacking. So dogs will
Hmm.
destack by a shake off. That's what the animal kingdom does. So they'll shake it off and then their
Wow.
energy levels drop and they become like more back with it. You know what I mean? When you're like angry, you're in tunnel vision. And when they shake it off, they come back to like, functioning dogs.
Yeah.
Not that we're dogs, but when we're in angry like primal brain, our vision goes like that too. So what I like to do is literally
Yeah.
just have a shake off. So I will just be standing there with my legs and my arms, and I'll just like just shake everything off. Even if you're in a public place, sometimes I'll just do like a little okay, keep going. Um, and then add like your breath in there too. So you want to like exhale
Yeah.
and maybe make a bit of sound if you can. If you're not in a place
Hmm.
where you can do that, maybe go to the toilet, lock yourself in there for
Yeah.
60 seconds and just do it there.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do if you're feeling like really stressed and angry is to do like a closed mouth scream. So you're basically like
Hmm.
interlocking your hands and you're putting them
Hmm.
over your mouth with your back of your throat open and you're just letting
Hmm.
out a scream and at the same time just shake and like exhale. Oh, I don't know if you're frozen. Yeah, you're there. Okay, good. So it's basically like a,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna elicit
Okay.
like that whole response of release because it's gonna engage the diaphragm, it's gonna engage the movement, the
Yeah.
breath, and like just the release. So
Yeah.
if you're feeling like
Yeah.
really upset about something and you need to go like shake it off and do that, like lock yourself in the toilet. No one's gonna know what you're doing. Just go and do you.
Yeah.
So that would be
Yeah.
my thing for that. And then lastly, if you're not wanting like anger and you're wanting more connection in your body in the mornings or before you go to bed, develop a self-pleasure practice. And by self-pleasure, I
Mm-hmm.
don't mean that you're reaching orgasm or climax. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
get acquainted with your body. Like start just
Mm-hmm.
touching your arms, put some nice music on and pay attention to your hands. Like just must maybe just play with your hands. Use your breath
Yeah.
and always like a belly breath. So just like from head to toe, maybe
Yeah.
you're just getting reacquainted with yourself. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say that would be like my top three of like getting back to your body.
Wonderful.
There's lots of meditations on Insight Timer as well that you can use. You could probably look up some self-pleasure ones. I know there's like
Mm-hmm.
lots of accounts to follow about that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what I would say. That would be a place to start.
Yeah, that was wonderful, and I'm sure it would be great if in the future sometime, because I remember I said to you that I would love to list you as one of our coaches on my website, and you said you do not have enough time right now. But maybe in the future, if we ever do that, I would love to have you imparting a session with some people where we can do certain exercises, and it would be fantastic. Perhaps we're going to do that once you fly back to Canada.
Yeah,
It can be like a
possibly.
celebration of yeah.
I do like I I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to keep doing it right now. I'm kind of in a funny place because I'm moving back to Canada at the end of November, so I've kind of just
Yeah.
things on hold. But I do have a class that's just it's about an hour, hour and a half, and it goes through like what is anger, how to release it, different tools on releasing it. Um, that apparently is getting a good response. So yeah, maybe we could get together
Yeah.
and have a chat about just doing that. And it's yeah, that would be something we could do.
Totally, totally. We have to do that. Um, so this has been a wonderful session. I got to learn so many new things today, and I'm sure people who were listening to our conversation, our viewers, got to learn a lot of different things as well. Before we sign off, I would love to ask if anyone has any questions for us. We would love to answer any questions at all
Yeah.
that you might have. Yeah.
Yeah. And if
So
not,
Rishabh
then
had a great question. I'm sorry,
yeah.
you were saying something.
No, you
I was
you
just
go.
saying Rishabh had a great question, and you answered it beautifully. And people who were not viewing the session right now will definitely make use of it when they will watch it. Yes,
Yeah.
you were saying something.
No, I was just gonna say if they don't if we don't get any questions now, because obviously it's early for you, but late for me too.
Yeah,
If people ask them in the comments or just DM us,
in the
we can
comments, of course.
do. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. So, with this beautiful note of learning about embodiment, learning about our bodies, learning about breathing techniques, learning about uh, healing in a way, and coming back to yourself and finally accepting your body's, uh, your comfort, and this whole realization that this beautiful home that we call our body is not something different from us, but it is us.
It is.
Let's end this session, and everybody, please go and follow Amy. Her ID. Amy, can you please just quickly take a moment and write your Instagram ID in the comment? I will
Yeah,
also mention it
it's
once I upload this video.
just write my I'll just add it. It's just my full name.
Yeah, Amy Mccoan.
It's just that one. Pretty sure I got that right. Pretty sure I spelled my own name right.
Yep, you've got that one right. All right, thank you so much for joining me, Amy. Would definitely get in, would love to have more such sessions with you in the future. Until then, you be safe, have fun, take care. Uh, Thanks for joining me once
You as
again.
well. Thank you for having me. Have a good day.